I and I occupy. I and I occupy Pinnacle.
Hello, Jasmine Rand. We're here in Rotterdam, and you're supposed to be at the Occupy Pinnacle evening we're organizing here. But due to the fact that Donisha, her flight got cancelled, you cannot make it next week on August 20. But still, want you to be on the evening. Want you to be a part of the show. Want you to be the part of the event. And can you please tell me and tell the audience who you are and what work you're doing?
Sure.
What kind of work you're doing?
Sure. Well, my name is Jasmine Rand. I'm an attorney and a professor in the United States. I practice civil rights and human rights, and I'm probably best known in the United States for my representation of the Trayvon Martin family. For those of you who don't know in the audience who Trayvon Martin was, he was a 17-year-old that was shot and killed in Sanford, Florida while wearing a hoodie. He wasn't committing any crime. He was just walking home through his neighborhood, and a man named George Zimmerman shot him and killed him. And initially, George Zimmerman wasn't arrested and was not going to be tried in a court of law in the United States for the murder of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin. The chief of police of the local police department let George Zimmerman off, which happens on a regular basis in the United States. So I was one of the attorneys that represented the family of Trayvon Martin, and I work on civil and human rights and police brutality in general throughout the United States.
Yeah, talking about police brutality, we heard about another kid who was shot down this week.
Yes.
And even yesterday there was somebody shot?
Yeah, this week in the United States there was a man named Michael Brown who was shot by police. We're told by witnesses that he had his hands in the air, and there was another man that was killed by the LAPD, Los Angeles Police Department, yesterday in the United States. So police brutality is really an ongoing issue. I think the Trayvon Martin case really kind of brought race relations in the United States to a tipping point. People have really had enough over there, and with these last two police shootings, there have been a lot of protests. The conservative media has a tendency to call it rioting, but you know, rioting is kind of a biased word that people like to use that has very negative connotations. But what do we call it when police are murdering black men on a daily basis? We gave a speech recently that said cops don't shoot white men in the back. And in the United States, that's particularly true. We have African Americans that are killed literally on a daily basis by police officers with their hands in the air. Oftentimes they're not even committing any type of crime.
But I'm always wondering, for me as an outstander, how can those policemen get away with those kind of things? Because you see on films, you see people filming with their telephones, and still they're not. Yeah.
Well, the problem is much deeper than even the police, and it's much deeper than even the system. Because when people have hate in their heart, and when they don't genuinely believe in racial equality, when they don't know one love, then they allow societies to get away with things like, you know, police officers killing people and nobody doing anything about it, and especially police officers killing black men and nobody doing anything about it. So we can write laws all day long that try to preserve racial equality in the United States. We have the Civil Rights Act. You know, black people, all people are supposed to be treated equally under the law, but that doesn't happen because people still have hate in their heart. And anytime when you don't have the citizens believing in true racial equality, they're going to manipulate the system in a way to still oppress other people.
Yeah. In your daily work, what does inspire you? Because I read a biography of you and I saw something very interesting. But what is your inspiration to do this work?
You know, my inspiration is it's really just God. I've wanted to be a civil and human rights attorney from the time that I was a child, and now it's like I don't even really see myself as an attorney or a professor anymore. It's more like I'm an artist that's trying to create and paint this vision of equality that I have in my mind. So, you know, I'm inspired by creating equality. Equality comes in different ways. It's not just about race. It's also about class. It's about religion. I work on issues related to equal treatment of Rastafari in Jamaica. So I just have this obsession with people being treated fairly and equally, and you know, things like music, reggae inspires me.
Yes, that's what I heard. Before a case or before you go to a class, because you were presenting classes in Morocco, you tend to play reggae music to...
Yeah, so most people don't know the link between reggae music and the Trayvon Martin case, which sounds, you know, kind of random to most people, but I was actually teaching a class at the time. I'm also a professor, so I was teaching legal problems of the poor.
Yeah.
And my students came to lead the Trayvon Martin movement. They coined the phrase, "I am Trayvon Martin," which many of you in the audience have probably heard at this point. And so it was a class assignment to them. But before I gave them an assignment, I was already teaching them to be, you know, soul rebels, to be revolutionaries. And I had no idea the Trayvon Martin case was going to happen, but we were studying Martin Luther King's speeches, and we were listening to Bob Marley's lyrics and dissecting Bob Marley's lyrics in class. And what does one love mean? What does it mean to, you know, fight for equality until the color of a man's eyes are of no more significance than the color of his skin? So, you know, you can't measure the influence of Bob Marley's music and reggae and Rastafari. The influence is immeasurable on the movement, but nonetheless I know it's there because I know what I taught my students, and I know what's in my mind and my heart as one of the leaders of the Trayvon Martin movement.
Yeah, okay, that brings us to the Pinnacle situation, the Occupy Pinnacle movement. So what is the relationship between your work as an attorney and as a professor and the situation in Pinnacle? Can you tell us something about it? Yeah,
and I'm working in a kind of loose basis as an attorney for Pinnacle because I am licensed in the United States, but I'm not licensed in Jamaica. But I think that Pinnacle is an international legal issue because of the historic significance of Rastafari and reggae's influence on civil and human rights leaders throughout the world and on citizens throughout the world. And you know, it's interesting to me, everywhere I travel, you know, I'm in Morocco and I hear Bob Marley's music, I see that message, and that message is the message of Rastafari. So to me, it's important to preserve that message as an international citizen. So, you know, as an attorney, I'm there to advise to the extent that I can in terms of how, you know, how I see the law applying and how international law will apply. But as a person, it's important for me to preserve that legacy of Rastafari because, you know, as they say, I wouldn't call myself a Rasta, but Rastafari is a livity, and Rastafari is alive in me. So many of my philosophical underpinnings derive from the principles of Rastafari that have been, I think one of the articles I said that the reggae rhythm that's fused within my soul. So, you know, every time I speak, some amount of the cadence in my voice is due to the words of Bob Marley and these songs of freedom. So, you know, that's my link to Pinnacle, and I think it's important for people to understand that it's not really a legal issue because there are multiple legal venues through which the government can give the land to the Rastafari, the rightful owners. So really it's a matter of choice and what the government's going to do. The most important thing that we can do is create awareness in the international community about Pinnacle and about the significance of preserving Pinnacle. And because Jamaica is such a tourist-based economy, it's really important for us as the international community to put pressure on Jamaica to preserve Pinnacle.
And why is Pinnacle that important for the Rastafari movement?
Because it's like, you know, it's the birthplace of Rastafari. It's where Leonard Howell founded the whole concept of Rastafari. It's, you know, the first self-sustained, self-determined community within Jamaica. And, you know, originally it was shortly after, I believe it was founded shortly after slavery. So, you know, to a large extent, you still had a lot, especially the black population within Jamaica was still working on farms and working for minimal wages, if any. And this was a self-sustaining community, which was, you know, clearly a threat to the government, which is why Rastafari have been attacked from the very beginning. But, you know, it's significant from a historical perspective, and to me, Pinnacle is the birthplace of this voice. And, you know, for the international community, I don't know that we can really, the international community, we don't have the best understanding of the difference between Rastafari and reggae. But Pinnacle, I think, gave birth to Rastafari, and Rastafari and birth gave voice to especially Bob Marley. I mean, he's the messenger, and this is the message that the world now understands. Whether or not they know to call that message Rastafari, that's what that message is. And it unites the world. It's this message of one love, and to me, Bob Marley and Rastafari have given us a blueprint of how the world should be. And these infuse the aspirational values that attorneys like myself should be trying to put within our legal system. And whenever I speak, I often speak about love, because you don't hear attorneys and you don't hear professors talk about love. But I was actually at Harvard Law recently, and I gave a whole lecture on love, and I was afraid it was going to be seen as anti-intellectual, but that's my truth. And I work from a place of love. So we need to bring love into our classrooms. We need to bring, love into our courtrooms and love into our legal systems when we're founding the ways in which people are going to interact. The law is really supposed to be the foundation of our society and how individual members interact with each other. So why is it that love is left out of our language? So, that's the words and the inspiration and the wisdom that have come into my mind as a young leader are largely owed to the wisdom of Rastafari through the sound of reggae music.
Okay, do we have a special message for the people who are here tonight in the Occupy Pinnacle movement, solidarity evening, how we say it?
Yeah, I think you need to continue spreading awareness. Use your social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever social media you have to spread awareness about Occupy Pinnacle, to spread awareness about Rastafari. Danisha is an incredible leader. You probably have already heard from her. You're going to hear from her soon. But, she's my sister. I trust her. I respect her absolutely. So get to know Danisha. She's an amazing person, and she's an incredible leader. So I would encourage all of you to listen to what she says closely tonight and to become part of the Occupy Pinnacle movement and just spread awareness. And in the Netherlands, I understand that you, I think, are much more progressive than many parts of the United States, but you're experiencing your own racial issues. So I would encourage you that although within your legal system and within your society at large, I think you've achieved much more racial equality than in other places, until each soul is viewed as equal to another soul, then we haven't progressed where we should as a society. So even though things may seem equal, I encourage you to keep fighting things like blackface and keep fighting the remnants of police brutality that still exists in the Netherlands, because true equality is not equality from the law. It's not the government telling me to be a good person. It's not the government telling me not to be racist. True equality comes from within people's hearts. And you say that you can't legislate a person's heart, but you can treat people with respect and treat people with dignity. And even if it doesn't affect you, you have to continue to encourage others to uphold people's rights, because that's the only way that we're going to change as a society, and we're going to change the next generation for our children, so that people aren't just mandated to be treated equal under the law, but that people give that equality to other people and people feel that equality within.
Thank you very much.
Occupy Pinnacle. Give back the land. It's stole from I and I occupy Pinnacle. First Rasta man